Welcome back, fellow pirates. Get ready to dive into the treasure chest of chaos that is One Piece episode 1094. This episode is jam-packed with action, devil fruit craziness, and of course the occasional Easter egg that'll make you wonder if Oda-sensei is just playing with our heads. Let's crack it open like a barrel of grog and break it all down. Previously on One Piece. The Heart Pirates, led by everyone's favorite stoic surgeon, Trafalgar D. Law, are having a rough day. The Polar Tang is getting obliterated, and Blackbeard is going full Pirate King ambitions mode, attacking without mercy. But here's where things take a hilarious twist. During the assault, Law and his crew suddenly find themselves transformed into women. You heard that right. Thanks to a devil fruit's powers, because, of course, that's the answer to everything in this world, the Heart Pirates are now the Heartresses. Law being Law quickly pieces it together. This weird feminization disease comes courtesy of a devil fruit. Cue Law's epic hockey flex, because he's not having any of that nonsense. In one powerful burst of willpower, he breaks the spell, restoring everyone to their true forms. Imagine the relief on their faces. When they finally make it to shore, they're greeted by Doc Q, the guy responsible for the whole gender-swapping debacle. He's practically applauding Law for managing to undo the effects, as if it was all just a fun science experiment. Other members of Blackbeard's ragtag crew show off their flashy new devil fruit abilities, each trying to outdo the other. But Law's crew isn't having any of it. They fight back like seasoned pros, countering every weird and wacky trick Blackbeard gang throws at them. Meanwhile, Blackbeard himself is just chilling, watching the battle from a distance like it's the world's best pirate reality show. Finally, he decides to enter the fray. He confronts Law, revealing his intention to steal the road poneglyphs. Law is as unshakable as ever. He accepts the challenge, promising that the winner will take everything. You've got to admire that confidence. Law goes all out with his room powers, landing a significant hit on Blackbeard. But Blackbeard, being the seasoned villain he is, retaliates with his classic move, the Kurozu attack. He literally pulls Law into the abyss of darkness. But hey, this is Law we're talking about. He and his crew aren't going down without a fight. Even as the situation spirals into chaos, they hold their ground, while the Marines are just sitting on the sidelines watching the show. Now, on to episode 1094, Chased by a Pacifista. Shifting gears, we find Luffy, Chopper, Jinbei, and Bonnie in their own pickle. These guys can't catch a break, can they? They're on the run from a pacifista, and things are looking pretty dicey. You know it's bad when even Luffy doesn't seem sure how to handle the situation. Just when they're cornered and it looks like they'll have to throw hands with the pacifista, Bonnie pulls out a wild move. Using her devil fruit powers, she transforms herself and Jinbei into kids, while Luffy and Chopper get the reverse treatment, turning into adorable but ancient grandpas. Imagine Grandpa Luffy trying to throw punches with his shaky hands. It's almost too funny to watch. But here's the genius part. This transformation throws the pacifista off its game. Luffy's bold declaration, pacifista or not, I'm fighting. Luffy, in true Straw Hat fashion, declares to Bonnie that she can't stop him from fighting the pacifistas, even if they do look like her dad, Bartholomew Kuma. Of course, Luffy's never been one to let details like this is someone's father slow him down when a fight's on the table. Cue Chopper, our adorable reindeer doctor, scolding Luffy for his reckless behavior. Chopper immediately apologizes to Bonnie, pointing out that their previous encounters with pacifistas haven't exactly been a picnic in the park. That might be the understatement of the century. Flashbacks to the crew running for their lives come to mind. Meanwhile, Jinbei, ever the calm and collected voice of reason, steps in with some knowledge. He explains that the pacifistas are clones of Kuma, which makes sense that Kuma might have family ties. But as usual, there's more to the story. Jinbei's Kuma history lesson, From King to Cyborg. Jinbei drops some lore on Bonnie, and honestly it's quite the tale. According to him, Kuma was once a wicked king ruling over the Sorbet Kingdom. And surprise, surprise, his people didn't love him. In fact, they kicked him out, forcing him to become a pirate. As if things weren't already wild, Kuma later joined the Revolutionary Army because nothing says rebellion like a deposed king. Until the Marines finally captured him, sentencing him to life imprisonment. Enter Dr. Vegapunk, the mad genius who found Kuma interesting. As a part of some strange deal, Kuma allowed himself to be modified into a cyborg, granting him the freedom as one of the warlords of the sea. Bonnie is not buying it though. She grabs a beam sword and lets her feelings fly. She admits that the cloning and warlord part makes sense, but the cyborg transformation is a death sentence in her eyes. Bonnie's rage. Kuma was no tyrant. Bonnie, filled with rage, strikes at Jinbei, Luffy, and Chopper. She defends her father, insisting that Kuma was never a tyrant. If anything, he hated the world government so much that he'd never willingly work for them. She believes that Kuma's modifications were forced upon him, essentially robbing him of his free will. As her anger subsides, Bonnie returns the Straw Hats to their original forms and reveals another shocking truth. Kuma once told her that she came from a special race. While that might be true, Bonnie refuses to accept it as justification for Vegapunk's experiments on her father. Taking away someone's free will is a line too far. The Thousand Sunny takes flight. Welcome to Egghead Island. Meanwhile, back on the Thousand Sunny, things take a turn for the high-flying as Lilith, one of Vegapunk's satellites, takes the crew into the skies over Egghead Island. The island is divided into two phases, the Labophase, floating in the clouds, and the Fabrio phase, grounded below. Lilith casually mentions the chaos Luffy is causing on the lower levels because, well, what else is new? As they reach Labophase, Zoro and Brook volunteer to stay behind and watch the ship. Zoro, in his ever-watchful protector role, admits he's staying because they're on a world government-affiliated island, and if things go sideways, which they definitely will, he wants to be ready to bail them out. Brook, ever the gentleman, agrees, and the two settle in for some tea. Caribou, however, isn't quite as calm. He's panicking about being stranded on a government island, but Zoro naturally ignores him and tries to send him on his way, much to Caribou's annoyance. Inside Vegapunk's lab, future tech and a familiar face. Meanwhile, inside the lab, Usopp and Nami are having the time of their lives, geeking out over the moving stairs like kids in a candy store. Frankie, being the tech head he is, asks Lilith how everything is powered. Lilith casually replies, "It runs on fire." Frankie, practical as ever, points out that fire eats through resources, and Lilith responds by saying she's always on the lookout for new energy sources. Lilith pulls a cool move by walking through a wall, receiving a call from Edison, one of Vegapunk's other satellites, telling her to hurry ahead. The rest of the Straw Hats follow her through the wall, and Edison introduces himself to the group. It's like walking into the future, but leave it to Nami to focus on what's truly important: treasure. She gushes at the thought of finding future treasure, prompting Usopp to tease her that her tastes vary wildly between a little girl and an old woman. Cue Nami's predictable reaction: a swift kick to Usopp for his smart mouth. But the lighthearted banter is short-lived when they stumble upon something strange. A seraphim unit resembling Jinbei as a child, but with wings. The crew starts theorizing what this creature could be, with Frankie finally deducing that they're facing another pacifista. Seems like Egghead Island is full of surprises. Vegapunk's prophecy, Shaka's cryptic warning. Elsewhere in the lab, Vegapunk's first satellite, Shaka, is having a chat with none other than Monkey D. Dragon via Dindin Mushi. Shaka cryptically predicts his own imminent death, ominously telling Dragon that with his intelligence he can see into the future. But before he meets his untimely end, he wants Dragon to hear him out. Whatever Shaka's planning, it's sure to have massive consequences for the entire One Piece world. Anime extras and hidden gems, what you missed. Now let's dig into the extra nuggets and Easter eggs the anime slipped into this episode. One thing they added was Luffy's group running from the pacifista, with Luffy eventually trying to fight back when he realizes there's no other option. We also get to see Bonnie's devil fruit powers in action, as she changes her group's ages to escape the pacifista's detection. The anime also gives us the extra treat of Sanji's group heading to the changing rooms. Of course, Sanji being Sanji attempts to follow Nami and Robin into the female changing room to protect them. Unsurprisingly, he's swiftly smacked down by Nami for this perverted stunt. The anime then shows the group changing into their new Egghead outfits. Final thoughts, an emotional and action-packed episode. This episode gives us a lot to unpack, particularly around Bonnie's relationship with Kuma. The anime does a fantastic job with the scene where Bonnie sees her father's happy face on a robot that's about to kill her. It's not in the manga, but it adds emotional weight to the moment. You can clearly feel Bonnie's pain, torn between fighting to survive and seeing the robot image of her dad destroyed over and over again. It's easy to understand both sides here. Luffy and his crew have to destroy the pacifistas to protect themselves, but for Bonnie, watching a robot version of her father die repeatedly is heartbreaking. It raises the interesting question: how different is a cyborg from a robot? Where does free will fit in? And as always, we get a deeper look into Kuma's tragic past, which will surely play a bigger role in the arc moving forward. Keep your eyes on that, because this father-daughter connection is bound to shake things up in a big way. And that was it for today, folks. Don't forget to subscribe, drop a comment, give us a like, and stay connected for more epic content.